going. So I'm really excited. As we kind of talked in the first episode, it was really more about talking about the fact that you can change your mind, you can create your own life. Second one was my story about all the things I kind of told myself to kind of trap myself, and also I just didn't know. The last episode, we really just kind of talked about the fact that we all might be carrying some sort of pain or trauma or just something in our mind that is blocking us from becoming maybe our best selves. And a lot of that was really based about helping you believe that you can change now, and really normalizing some of those experiences. So really in this episode, what we're going to be really talking about is really understanding that sometimes for me, the anxiety was the thing that told me something was wrong. For you, you're going to have your own individual feeling. It could be anything, from good, bad, a hell no, a hell yes, a maybe. You feel frozen, you want to fight, you want to run, you love someone who you really shouldn't love, So realistically, your body is going to react in certain ways. And I guess, this is really about trying to understand the pattern that you're feeling for yourself. Central theme of what this main chapter, the first chapter in the A series is really trying to understand where you may have some inner child wounds. Those are essentially an emotional or psychological trauma that experienced during our childhood years. These wounds were caused by neglect, abuse, abandonment, or other forms of mistreatment that we may have faced as children. These experiences, unfortunately, have lasting effects on our psyche, and it really changes how we really perceive and feel safe and attached to the world. And, it can manifest for everyone in different ways. For me, it was anxiety. For others, it might be depression. My ADHD forms through more like a depression, but I know that depression is more of a lack of purpose. It's not a true, I'm sad and I don't like myself. Other people, that's really more of how they feel. And, and other people have low self-esteem, or they have really unhealthy, relationships. These wounds are really deep. And on the spiritual side, you can really have issues where, you're just not growing or evolving. And, you understand there's pain and trauma, and, but the problem is that you're not giving yourself the love and the compassion, and you're kind of missing out on that support that happened in all those years, and then you're kind of recreating it in this life. So no matter what, that hurt inner child wound, we're just not able to fully process it. Hey, so one key thing is you will be okay. You will be able to achieve whatever you want and become who you're meant to be. Whatever you want, there always is going to be trade-offs to achieving it. So you have to decide how will you achieve it. A lot of my focus today and throughout this whole thing is through more of meditation. Meditation is something that is internal. It is something that we can do ourselves. Other things that will help you in your journey, it's all about connecting with your inner self, with your, and understanding all parts of that inner self. So martial arts is great because you do key activations and releases of your body. There is breathing in some of those. Yoga is another fantastic one. And there's other things that will help you with your circulation and that connection, but those are going to be other things that, more are, they're using outside influences. So like massages, acupuncture, those type of treatments, you're really going to have to use another person. So what I've really tried to do is help you more on a self-guided journey with all the information, and then anything that you need, realistically talk to your village and talk to the people in your network. If you don't have one, work on getting one, because it's really key. Because becoming and growing, you can't do it alone. They say to go fast, you go alone. To go far, you go together. If you're constantly going fast, you're just an individual solo person. Either you're going to outgrow the rest of society and you're going to become a cancer, or you're going to grow so quick that your body can't keep up with it. And it's like a young fruiting tree, like sometimes you have to let it skip a season before it fruits, so that way its stem and everything and its foundation and structure is strong. So what I'm really hoping for is, in this journey, you're really going to be able to find that confidence in yourself. This is important to know about this, because typically whenever me, really realistically most humans, it's very common to kind of lie to ourselves and almost keep ourselves limited. As I mentioned before about how sometimes that generational impact can put us in like a glass ceiling of not believing in our own potential. But what also happens is sometimes we tend to put these like negative judgments or like cognitive bias on ourselves. And so it's really important, as you're on your personal journey, like to figure out like where are you blocked? Like what is your body saying or not saying? Think of everything that's going on as like a cycle. For me, whenever something good or bad happens, it takes me, I would say, probably about 2 to 3 days to really process and understand how I feel on the inside. So if I go and I react, if someone pisses me off and I do something immediately, I lost my one shot. But technically, if I do it right away, I am not in the right state of mind, and I might miss out on another amazing opportunity. Sometimes that half a second pause, sometimes it's a two-day pause, sometimes it's even longer, but it gives you the time to reground and to act in a place of confidence and assurance, because you don't want to do something and then spend the rest of your time either regretting, doubting, or replaying what you fucking did, and then you have to redo it all over. Think about all that energy that's wasted. So it's all about learning how to be intentional with your thinking, your feeling, with your focus, and learning how, when you're intentional, all the other senses, all the other parts of your being is not working. So when you're intentional with one thing, you are missing out on other parts. So you have to slow down to understand, what did I miss out on? Listen to those other parts that are still recording, understanding, and as those are really key. Aiboan, everyone. Hey, I'm really excited. So, one thing I really want to kind of talk about today is just believing, and how the idea and the concept of really believing in yourself and creating, a self-fulfilling prophecy is really key to your growth, to your evolution, to your even healing, processing anything. But the fact of believing is a huge key. As we talked about self-efficacy in the first episode of this series, it's really important. So knowing that you can achieve your goal is key, but knowing that your objective will be reached within a set amount of time is definitely key. Now, the problem is there's always going to be pressure and blocks and issues. Sometimes it's outside, sometimes it's inside. For me, my anxiety started at such a young age. It became more of a disorder. It was a constant thing. It was something that was truly part of me. And so for myself, knowing that this isn't, the norm, was always something in the root belief of who I was. And so what I realized was it really felt like, as I explained, kind of how cancer is our body's not able to process dead cells. But for me, my anxiety was almost like a pressure, this entire just crushingness and weight inside somewhere. And as I was able to understand and listen to it and kind of release the pressure slowly, its control over me really changed. And that's what I'm really hoping that we can kind of work together and try to achieve. Hey y'all. Yeah, so what happens is sometimes when we're dealt with things that just goes against maybe what we believe in. And sometimes those negative judgments that we have, we tend to use various cognitive biases and defense mechanisms to kind of justify your old views, your outdated views, or just what people have told you and programmed you, in the matrix or realistically in your society, just because sometimes you just didn't know any better. And what happens is when there's confirmation bias, we have limits and kind of governors in our brains and our minds that make sure we're not either growing too fast or the state of self isn't at risk because our entire world is kind of coming apart. So typically sometimes when we're confronted with negative judgments or just things, our brains are dealt with creating these cognitive biases and defense mechanisms to justify our views. Let me read a little bit of information for you. Confirmation bias is a prevailing cognitive bias in which people tend to seek out information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs, ignoring contradictory evidence. Moreover, people may use defensive mechanisms such as projection or rationalization to avoid admitting their biases and negative judgments. For instance, someone who judges a particular group may dismiss criticism as political correctness or claim that their judgments are based on facts. These negative judgments and cognitive bias tend to have an adverse effect on the collective, leading to discrimination, social justice, and marginalization. When people judge based on others' biases and stereotypes, they may discriminate against them in various aspects of life, such as education, employment, housing, healthcare. Moreover, such discrimination may lead to social justice, and some people feel that they're systematically disadvantaged. So negative judgment and confirmation bias can lead to some of these other beliefs is because we all fall into certain traps and then we can't see the other side because it hurts us too much. It's really kind of what I got from it. So it's an interesting concept, and it's really something I'm bringing up to help you sometimes really understand why you might be having such an intense feeling. So for me, the level of intensity meant that there was something in there that I was either hiding or that was trying to scream to get my attention. So sometimes these awkward or difficult situations, sometimes you need to run to it instead of running away from it and numbing away from it and kind of dissociating. It's interesting how trauma and our response to it generationally can really impact us. Let's talk about. There's this thing I've seen on some of these like vlogs or shit I follow online, and really talked about these fleas that were put into a jar and kept in there for 3 days, and fleas can jump so high, but what happens is in those 3 days they forget the ability that they can jump to their full potential, and even their children or offspring they're grown or they arrive to this world with the thought that their jump potential is limited, even though their body can do it and their energy can do it, but their mind, they just can't do it, so they don't do it. And that's really kind of what I'm trying to showcase in, this part of the series is, you may be limiting your own potential, but part of that is society's fault. Part of that is the fact that your parents were gone or they had their own stuff, and we don't have much of a village like we used to. So I'm really trying to normalize that we all go through various experiences, and realistically, our DNA has a lot of that information, and a lot of that information can get turned on or off based on our environment or our experiences. And so it can hijack us and put us in debilitating anxiety like I felt at times, or panic attacks, but the other side can happen too. You can also heal and find your true strength and become the best freaking version of yourself. So who's to say that you can or can't do anything but your own mind? And I really want you all to know that glass ceiling is fucking glass. And you're made up of things that are so much stronger than glass. So you can break that. And it's not going to hurt you. You are going to become and evolve, and you can become who you are meant to be. Again, it sounds like I'm speaking from Moana, but maybe it's that South Asian culture in me, but on that collective system. But I believe in that. But I do believe in our American system too. Of a strong individual is good for the strong collective, and a strong collective is good for a strong individual. But we have to learn how to be able to find our own way, and I can guide you, I can show you, I can teach you, I can give you all the information to get there, but honestly, you have to effing do it by yourself. I can't take you to that next step. So realistically, after, I have a few more episodes I'm going to do in this series, but after that, everything else is with the precipice that you can achieve this, you can believe this. You might doubt yourself, I get that, and we're going to go through the doubts, we're going to go through those cycles, we're going to find those efficiencies, but realistically, you have to effing believe it. You gotta want it. If you don't want it, there's no point. Turn off this video, stop following me, let's just move on. You can do this. You will be fine. I believe in you, but you have to believe in yourself. Will you believe in yourself? Can you do this? When will you believe in yourself? When will you achieve your dreams? When will you do what you need to do to become who you're meant to be? When will you do that? And that's something you have to ask yourself. When will I do X, Y, and Z by this time? I don't know the how, but what do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? You have to understand what, why, and realistically when. The how, the world will show you. Who, only you can do that. Everything else will kind of fall into place. I can't keep saying this over and over, but I will, because at some point, maybe in one of these videos, someone on the other side will need to hear this message, and they will then move and become their best self. And I'm not saying your self now is a bad self. I'm just saying we're always growing, we're always changing, the world is always changing. And part of that is because becoming and achieving, you have to learn how to edit, grow, and evolve. If you're stuck in the past, if you're stuck in one phase and everything else is moving, think how much energy you're wasting to just protest and just to be stuck. Realistically, you're stuck because you're putting yourself there, not because of anything else. You're stuck because you believe you're stuck. If you believe I'm not stuck, then you're not stuck. It's just a really hard topic. I feel like probably this is one of those harder episodes, because I feel like we all know what's going on. We all know where or what we have to do, but The moment someone says let's do it, or you say let's do it, your mind, I don't know about you, but me in the past would say I would, I could, I should, I wish. There was always some sort of thing that needed to happen for me to achieve it. Now I just say I will X by this time and I'll figure it out. And I'm always assessing, is this adding too much stress? Where is the goal even something I still want, or is it something I need to just pivot and move on and maybe come back to it at a different time? Because timing is huge. But again, that's something you're gonna have to figure out on your own. One other thing I want to really bring up, I brought up how, anxiety, depression, and, some other OCD type behaviors are sometimes ways in which things manifest. Another thing most people really use as a crutch that we don't really talk about, it's food. It's overeating. It's literally not having that safety on the outside where you feel like you need to constantly be eating, or that instant gratification allows you to feel some safety in yourself. But the dopamine hit from eating is so quick that you need to keep eating and eating to keep that level of comfort alive. I speak from personal experience, but also from a lot of the experience that I read. And so, that's why obesity is one of the leading causes of all these other issues. Obesity comes from, obviously, various reasons, but ultimately it's a situation of too much energy in and not enough energy out. And so realistically, it's a metabolic issue. It's really not something wrong with the cells in cancer. So we have to look at maybe the way that we look at even our own health. And I'm really bringing up some of this stuff is really to challenge your own thinking, because it's going to help you feel more comfortable in the uncomfortable, to then be intentional in the uncomfortable, to be able to influence it opposed to trying to control it. Again, we'll get there. I know we will, and I know you'll be able to get there wherever you're trying to achieve. So with that, I'm Koos. So anyways, let's go. I'm really excited. I'm hoping in the next week or so we'll probably start creating a little bit more content for the next later episodes. So probably chapter 2, chapter 3, and even chapter 4, wrapping up chapter 1 of this, and then we'll go into the other numerical numbers, opposed to just kind of going down and deeper layers of each one of these. So all right, let's go.